The one trait that I believe will set you ahead of 99% of the crowd, or the one mentality, is what I like to call radical responsibility. I'm sure other people call it that as well, but it's basically the ability to look at things and think, how can I effect change to this thing? Where can I take responsibility for this thing? And I think that's relevant more and more in this day and age, where a lot of the times people tell you, oh, your situation is not your fault, it's because of your clients, it's because of your bosses, it's because of the market, the economy, your parents, your surroundings, your upbringing, whatever. While some of that may be true, talking about it in that manner, or at least personally, if you have that mentality, it's not a useful mentality to have. And I think the way to kind of pull yourself out from the situation at the end of the day, it's a personal thing, because you can always wait for things outside to change, or you can just take action on it. If you wait for things to change from the outside, you're just giving up your power, right? In 2021, I was quite down in the dumps, and I was reading like a lot of books and trying to gain knowledge. And I think it was in Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. It might not be from his book, but there's this line or this quote that says, it might not be your fault, but it's always your responsibility. So there's a real difference between like finding fault and taking responsibility, because yes, something may have happened and it might not have been your fault, but someone has to find a solution to this problem, right? If not anyone else, why not you do it? Someone has to do it. Take the responsibility, One of Jordan Peterson's rules of life also, which says, find opportunity where people have abdicated responsibility, because there's opportunity for you to grow when you take responsibility in these things. Yes, it might not be your fault, but someone has to change the thing. Nathaniel Branden's book, The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, one of the analogies he gave, he has this saying which is, no one is coming to save you. At the end of the day, if you are in a bad spot, no one is coming to save you, right? People can give you advice and all that, but no one is coming to save you. He holds like group therapies or something like that, and he brought up this point with them, and one of them said, oh, that's not true. You're here now. You're here, and you're here to save us. But his response was, okay, but I'm here to tell you that no one is going to save you. And that's just kind of the harsh truth of it, right? Like, it's no one is coming to save you, and only you can save yourself. It might sound cold, but that's kind of empowering, right? It's the most empowering mindset that you can adopt to pull yourself out of bad situations. Now, this also has some parallels to like the Stoic type of mentality about being able to accept what is beyond your control, and focusing on what is within your control. Because when you focus only on what is within your control, more stress comes from trying to control things that are outside of your control. If you recall the flowchart that I did in another video, if it's within your control and you can do something about it, great, then do something about it. But if you can't, there's really no point stressing about it, right? When you are able to take responsibility where you can take responsibility, you focus on what you can do, that's in terms of like your mindset, your effort, your behavior, or your choices. And it's just like what the serenity prayer says. I mean, I'm not religious, but it's a prayer that says, God grant me the serenity to accept that I cannot change, the strength to change that which I can, and the wisdom to differentiate between the both, something like that. Now, let's break down the word, right? Responsibility. There is a response and there is ability. When you are able to accept that fully, that is the moment that you really start. That's the moment you really stop waiting and you start acting and trying to make changes in your life, Now, even if there is a mess of a situation, you can choose how you act. You can choose how to conduct yourself in the situation, You can plan your next action, you can plan your next words. It's like Viktor Frankl said in his book, between stimulus and response lies a space, and in that space you have the freedom, or you have the power to choose who you become, something like that. Yeah. So my point is, having this mindset of radical responsibility, it might not be your fault, but it's always your responsibility. This will put you ahead of 99% of the people, because these days most people are too busy like complaining, waiting, hoping. If you are able to take radical responsibility when everyone's screaming their heads off when the house is burning down and pointing fingers at each other, if you are able to step in and say, okay, cut that shit out, what's wrong, what can I do, I'll fix it, I think you would be an asset to any situation, right? People who take radical responsibility show up more consistently. They are able to take feedback without ego, and they learn faster because they are trying new things. The only way you learn is by experimenting, trying new things. Having this mindset, you become someone that other people will trust and someone that other people want to work with, because you don't make excuses, you just give results, or at least you take the steps necessary to try and produce results. So that is the main point. I know some people might say that, sometimes the situation you're in it's really difficult to change. Maybe my environment stops me from certain things. That's true, but there's always areas where you can take responsibility and take action in. I think the whole conversation about environment and all that is a different conversation. Now, the objective of this video is like, I'm talking to you as an individual. I want to tell you that you have to take responsibility. Now, if you're talking about environmental issues, and let's say I'm talking to the government or something, I will have a very different conversation, because I believe that infrastructure is necessary to prop people up. So it's a very contrasting belief to what I'm saying now about radical responsibility. But now I'm talking to the individual. If I'm talking to the individual, this is the mentality that I have. But if I'm talking to like the wider sense of things, I would have a very different conversation. I'm not going to say it's every man for himself. But now my main point is, you have to adopt the mentality of radical responsibility. I believe that it will get you very far in life. I'm still young. I don't believe that I'm very far in life, but I have a firm belief that I will get there with this mentality. Yeah, so that's all for today.